Welcome to another Totara community webinar. Today we're going to go in behind the scenes with First Intuition, and I'm really happy to introduce Becky Hunter, who's joining us today from First Intuition, and also David Preskov, the CEO from Innovate Learn. And we're going to learn all about their Totara instance, which has been customized to help them solve their apprenticeship program. So if you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide, David.
Yeah.
So everyone, just so you know, this session is being recorded, so if you'd like to watch it back later or share it with some of your colleagues, this will be available in the Totara community. And if you don't already have a Totara community account, you can come and create a free account at totara.community. There we've got about 6,000 active L&D professionals trying to solve problems and solve solutions similar to what Becky and David have solved today, and different solutions as well. So you're very welcome to join that community. We have a free academy in there as well with lots of training. If you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide, and the next one as well. So yeah, this project which we're going to be looking at today won the 2023 Most Engaging Learning Experience. So we're really happy to be able to go behind the scenes and see exactly how this has been built. So congratulations to Becky and David on this award as well, and Julie on your award for developing something so captivating and so personalized for your apprentices. So I'm really looking forward to digging into this today and really showing us how you've solved the problem of building an effective apprenticeship program. So just as a starting point, if you wouldn't mind changing slides again, David. Becky, if you could sort of tell us all really what First Intuition do and the types of apprentices you have there, that'd be great to learn about.
Yeah, no problem. Hello, everybody. So First Intuition is a private training provider. We specialise in accountancy and also leadership and management programmes. We deliver those both commercially and, as Matt's mentioned, via apprenticeship routes. So we were founded back in 2007 with an incredibly clear goal that we wanted to deliver professional training that was focused on the learner. We started delivering apprenticeships as a main provider in 2017, so that was post-apprenticeship standard reforms. And since then, we've won awards, as Matt's just mentioned. We've opened a national network of study centres, and we now deliver well in excess of courses to well in excess of 10,000 students per year. Over the last 5 years, we've become a main provider for apprenticeships and expanded our offering into new subject areas and also new student demographics. And we operate as a network of providers. So we have 7 different sort of autonomous First Intuition centres. And because of the way that we're set up, that means we get Ofsteded all 7 times and ESFA audited 7 times as well. And over the last year, we've had 6 out of 7 of our centres Ofsteded. And we're really proud to say that we've been graded outstanding in 4 of those and good in the other 2. So in terms of our student base for apprenticeships, they come from a really diverse range of backgrounds. We have school leavers, graduates, as well as people looking to change careers or formalise perhaps where they've had a lot of experience, formalise that into a qualification. So it's really open to everybody, which was a big part of those 2017 reforms. We offer accountancy apprenticeships from level 2 through to level 7. Level 2 being the equivalent of an A-level and level 7 being a postgrad equivalent qualification. And we also offer leadership and management apprenticeships at level 3 and at level 5. We see a huge variety of learners from different backgrounds with different experiences across all of those programmes. And those apprentices work for a variety of professional firms. So we take apprentices from, big 4 accountancy firms down to sole traders as well. So a real variety.
Thanks, Becky. That's a great introduction. So yeah, lots of challenges there to solve. And sort of going back really to the beginning of the project or your time at the project, why did you sort of decide to use Totara as a starting point? And why did you decide to sort of partner with Innovate Learn?
So like I say, we started our apprenticeship delivery as a main provider in 2017. And at that point, we were well established in our commercial delivery of our programmes. So that was mainly our accountancy programmes. So we started delivering the apprenticeships, and apprenticeships come with a huge amount of regulatory and quality requirements. So the LMS that we had, which was much focused on delivery of content, didn't fit the needs that we had to meet some of those other requirements that you may or may not be aware of, such as off the job, the way we track apprentices, the way that we know that they are eligible for funding and those sorts of things. So we launched at that point a second system to deal with that side of the apprenticeship, and that was a proprietary system that was focused on that apprenticeship programme. We grew really rapidly from 2017 through to 2019, and it became clear quite quickly that as we were growing, it wasn't sustainable to have the programme over 2 different systems. And from both sides, really, as a user, apprentices tend to, or maybe less now, but they tended to focus very much on the professional qualification. That was the sort of prize that they wanted. So it was very easy when we were splitting it out over 2 systems for them to prioritise one over the other. So there's a user experience issue there, also just the logistics of logging into different sites, making sure they knew what they were doing on what site. And from our perspective, we didn't have a good golden source of data. So we had data across different sites that wasn't compatible. We didn't have unique identifiers to pull data together outside of those sites. So there was quite a lot of challenges that sort of hit us as we grew. So the beginning of 2019, we decided that we needed to address that issue, and we started looking for alternatives. And we looked at our existing LMS, we looked at our existing apprenticeship system to see if they could sort of match what the other one did. And the answer was no, probably not enough for what we were after. And we also went out and looked at other proprietary apprenticeship delivery systems, other LMS systems. During that time, it became really clear to us that what we wanted was control. We were sat there listening, and some of these systems are absolutely fantastic and they do great things for apprenticeships, but the market, the industry is changing quite quickly, the requirements change quite quickly, we're growing quite quickly, and we wanted to have an element of control over our own LMS that wasn't really possible when you looked at proprietary systems. So we were fairly clear that we wanted open source. So we started to look at Totara, which definitely met our needs. We went out to tender for a few partners, and we eventually contracted with Innovate in July 2019. And they really understood us right from the beginning. They understood what we wanted to do, what flex we wanted, how we wanted to build quite a bespoke system, and very much fit with the culture that we have in our organisation. We were looking for a partner. We didn't just want someone that we sort of say, oh, build this and then it's done and we move on. And yeah, the last 4 years have definitely been a partnership.
Great, thanks so much, Becky, for that introduction. It's really great to understand your picture in more detail. And David, if you wouldn't mind introducing us to Innovate and what you can do really for other people if they're looking to do something similar to Becky.
Hi, thanks, Matt. Hi, everybody. Yeah, we've got a couple of agenda items to kind of share with you, and as Matt's alluded to, we're going to talk about how to launch and maintain Totara platforms, and also how Innovate can help customize platforms like we've done with Becky and the First Intuition team. And by way of introduction as to what we can do, those are the 2 elements that we're going to focus on. In terms of functionality, we provide full service design, implementation, and ongoing support services for Totara learning management systems, and also for talent experience platforms for clients right across the globe. And what you see here, we've achieved by using just core Totara functionality. There's some light theming, there's some configuration, but there's no customization here. And what we find is some clients will require just a standard install. Some, like in Becky's case, will require a bit more than that. And we'll kind of go through that later on. So in terms of kind of how we launch and maintain a Totara LMS, so how do we do that? And as Becky said already, partnership really is the key. We've got to work very closely with all of our clients just to make sure we understand what they need. And whilst we take care of the Totara installation, we kind of view it as a not just a one hit and then we deliver and that's it. It's really start to finish. We view the whole process as a collaborative process. And it starts really by understanding the requirements. So we engage with all of your stakeholders to understand the short and the long-term goals. We'll guide you through the Totara functionality, but there's also the great resource of the Totara Academy as well to help you understand the system and understand all of the Totara functionality. So much so you can become a qualified Totara administrator through the Totara Academy. We suggest maximizing the core Totara functionality, and I think we do that as much as possible when building the LMS. And for any additional requirements that we design those within Innovate in-house. We develop project plans and manage the project through from start to finish. We manage the whole thing for you. So we'll then install and configure the system and theme it to the brand guidelines. And in some cases, people build their own content, but we also assist in building courses and generate reports by using custom embedded reports, importing e-learning modules, quizzes, and video hosting via media players too. We'll then test and arrange for a smooth launch and rollout, and then post go live, we make sure that the AWS server maintenance is taken care of and the Totara software is upgraded as agreed. And we see here feedback and future planning. It isn't just a one-stop shop or one hit and that's it. The advantage of Totara is that the system can grow with your organization. So we welcome regular meetings for feedback, reviews, and future planning. The growth can be in terms of user numbers, but also in terms of use of the system. So some clients may say, well, we just want a standard LMS, and then you can widen the scope of that by adding Totara Perform to improve performance management, or Totara Engage to unlock informal knowledge that exists within all organizations. And in terms of bespoke customization, so in addition to a standard install where needed, we also develop in-house bespoke customization of the LMS. And this is a themed login page, and this is what you'll see shortly in the live demo with reCAPTCHA added for security. On the left is the apprentice dashboard with a custom block that displays progress monitoring of off-the-job hours. And on the right is the coach dashboard, and that displays the team progress and overdue tasks, and we'll see more of that shortly. So just to finish up with terms of customization, that box, that square in front of you, kind of represents all of the LMS requirements, and the suite of Totara products, either individually or combined, can fulfill in some cases, or in all cases, all of those requirements. But there's sometimes where there's a gap, and that's where the requirements are for extra customization. And we specialize in providing the design and development solutions to build that functionality for any of those requirements that can't be met with a standard Totara install. In the case of the demo we're going to see shortly, that system uses both Totara functionality and customizations to meet the needs of all the stakeholders within FI. So you're looking at coaches, apprentices, regulatory bodies, and management info and reporting. And in this particular install, we use Innovate Learn and Totara Perform. So the typical customization requirements, well, they tend to be functionality offered by third parties, such as CRMs, like we have a couple of those, Becky, in this install. Sometimes content providers or financial infrastructures required, and we'll kind of deliver those as well. Bespoke themings, sometimes required, and that drives customization. And regulatory requirements can drive the need for comprehensive and unique reporting solutions. And in terms of process and admin efficiencies, well, again, that can drive some kind of customization. Anything that can save time for a coach ultimately provides cost efficiencies. So we'll provide custom dashboards and functions to reduce clicks and provide admin to save reporting. And the last one here, we'll probably look at this in a bit, which is gamification. There's a plugin called Level Up that we use to encourage participation and engagement. And the types of customization tend to be around, well, I guess because Totara software is open source, for Totara partners, we can offer various types of customization, such as custom report sources, The open API enables integration with third-party solutions, and now we've got GraphQL capabilities as well. So, for example, when onboarding an apprentice, we use the Totara API to integrate to a third-party CRM to pull through user data and create an account that enrolls them onto a course via scheduled tasks. And then we have custom dashboards for apprentices and for coaches, and also custom quiz functionality. And the last slide, well, how do we do that? Well, we do two things really. There's plugin development and custom software development. In terms of custom plugin, it's custom code we write internally. We develop code to link competencies to assignments and evidence, for example. We have quiz module customization. So the option there, we can create questions that have time limits rather than just time limits for the whole quiz. And the custom blocks, we can provide those either completely bespoke, or we can enhance the current Totara blocks that already comes with the core system. And in terms of question types, well, because FI deliver accountancy apprenticeship learning, replicating that regulatory testing environment is crucial. So we extensively develop custom question types such as spreadsheet and custom gap fill table. And we do that also by using the software development that's within Totara Learn, such as PHP and JavaScript, or Perform, which is Chewy, a new piece of software. So we use all of these tools to customize Totara to your requirements. And next, we have Becky to do a demo of the FI system.
Thanks a lot for that, David. Yeah, looking forward to this. So if we were able to share your screen, Becky, and see if that hopefully it works. So we need a drum roll, really.
There we go.
Yeah, great. So what we're going to start off with is just sort of, how a new apprentice would get into the system and some of the options there, really.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we sort of have a diverse student base. So the way that a commercial student gets into the system is different from an apprentice. And a lot of that is driven by the fact that we want to show them different things. So typically they get sent login details when they get to a certain point in the onboarding process within First Intuition. And for an apprentice, that means that they've been booked on courses via the CRM. And Dave mentioned we've got an API integration with not one, but two different CRMs actually to meet the needs of our network. So they're booked onto courses via the CRM, and that tells the system that they're created as a learner. But we did add some customization there that they don't actually get login details at that point if they're an apprentice, because we want to add some more detail to their account once they've gone through the fairly rigorous onboarding process that an apprentice has to go through to make sure that they meet the requirements of government funding. So we use a CSV upload to upload that extra layer of information, and that would then trigger an apprentice to get a login. Like Dave says, we've got reCAPTCHA here, which is a requirement of some of our clients. So I'm just going to embarrass myself potentially by failing reCAPTCHA, which happens fairly frequently, I'm sorry to say. But let's say that it's their strong security and not my inability to recognise a bus. So this is what an apprentice sees when they first log into FI Learn, which is what our instance of Totara is called. And it's very much a blend of customization, but we have used some out-of-box features as well. And I'll sort of talk through as I go through what features we've got that are out of the box and what features we've got that are customized. And I've already mentioned we use an API which has been customized for us. So we've made changes to that over the last 4 years in terms of the information we want passed to the system and passed back from the system into our CRM. For an apprentice, it's really important for an apprenticeship program that students find it easy to access the data that they're trying to find. And one thing that we were really, really keen, as Dave's already mentioned, is minimize the clicks. We don't want a student fighting to find that important bit of information or fighting to understand how they carry out that function that they've been asked to do. So the first thing that we've used that's out of the box functionality is we've used dashboards and audiences to make sure that different people get access to different dashboard views. So if you ignore this section here, which is very much customized, and we can hide that as well nicely to keep your eye off it for a moment, the dashboard is specific to the user, their user type, and also the program that they're studying. And we've used some blocks that are readily available, such as the system notifications that we just use to give important messages, as well as the calendar block. This block in the middle is customized. I'll come back to that in a moment. But then we've used the ability on a dashboard to create a custom link from a block to take an apprentice to key areas of their apprenticeship. So, for example, their learning plan that they can get to just by clicking on the dashboard. We also built courses that give them all of the key apprenticeship information and take them to really important things like the standard that they're studying. So for an apprentice studying, they'll always study against a standard, which is made up of knowledge, skills and behaviours. So we use technical qualifications to deliver the knowledge, and then our skills programme to deliver the skills and behaviours. So they can review here what that standard looks like. They know what they'll be aiming for from their apprenticeship. We've got a handbook, some little videos on using the system, careers advice, those sorts of things. So this is always accessible to them from the dashboard. The other thing that's really key in an apprenticeship programme is that they regularly submit information to us that shows us how they're developing in the workplace. So my submissions is another key one that they click on, and this one they get to make submissions, and this is using out of the box assignment functionality. And we've also used some of the out of the box rules when it comes to submissions. So once a learner has completed submission 1 and the completion settings are set to it has to be graded, then submission 2 will appear. So keeping it really tidy, really neat, no extra information on there was very much our design goal. So dashboards and audiences, very much using out of the box functionality. And then you'll see here that we've also got some good customization, and we've got a lot of customization on our site, especially when it comes to our apprenticeship learners. If you were to look at our commercial learners, they don't have this what we call our performance banner. It's a little bit more pared down, and that would be typically perhaps more like you would see an out of the box version of Totara being used. So a couple of things on this page that we've heavily customized. We created this My Current Learning block for our apprentices. So again, it was all about feeding them the right information at the right time, making sure that they had access to what they need and when they need it. So there's 3 different tabs that we've got here. We've got My Current Tasks, and this will tell them any tasks, objectives that have been set by their coach. And then they would, some of them are notifications you'll see, and then some of them are the objectives. So they get the notification of anything that's changed, and then the objective sits there. And if you were to, as as an apprentice, clear your notifications, then that would clear the notifications from your My Current Learning task, and you'd just be left with your objectives. Might be running a bit slow. I'm having challenges with the internet today. So then we've got My Enrolled Courses, and we split out different course types for apprentices. So they might want to look at their PQ courses. These are their professional qualification courses, or they might want to look at their ISP courses, which are their skills program. It's the other side of their apprenticeship. And again, it's about making it easy and visual, and making sure that the learner understands how the program fits together and how it all ties up. If I go into one of our PQ courses, just give you a little flavour of what they look like. So this is a professional qualification course for the SEMA qualification, and you can see that we use functionality to sort of splash messages across the top there. We update our syllabuses on a yearly basis, so courses become out of date and we have to keep quite tight management on that. This is an out-of-box format for courses. This is something called the Tile plugin, and even within the plugins that Dave mentioned earlier as being part of our customization package, we've customized within the Tile format as well. A really good example of that is where we've also had, we use a Vimeo plugin. So we've got a Vimeo plugin and that displays our videos to students. And we wanted some custom navigation around that Vimeo player, and that's because we want students again to minimize the clicks, be able to get back to where they were really easily and not be taken out of that tile format or put into a tile that they shouldn't be in. So that's some customization that we've done there within the course. We've used a lot of the out-the-box functionality when it comes to quizzes. So we have checkpoints within our courses as students work their way through. They would then take a quiz. They can start an attempt. This is a very short one. This is sort of test your learning quiz. And then we have longer ones that Dave alluded to earlier, where we have much more complex question types that are meant to simulate the institutes and how they will examine the students. So this one I think is mainly multiple choice, maybe a multi-select there as well. So that's some out of the box functionality that we're using within quizzes, but we've also built custom question types as well on top of that. If I go back to the dashboard for an apprentice. So the other big piece of customization work that we've done over the last 4 years is this performance banner, tying back again to students. What we wanted students to be able to see where they were, how they were doing, to be able to push the messages out to them that were really important. So one of the things for apprenticeships is that they have to log off the job hours, which are the worst named thing in the world because they're really on the job hours, but we'll give them their proper name. They're off the job hours, and students need to log those. And we wanted a way of being able to show them how they're doing with off the job, because it's really important for our funding and it's really important for their progression through the apprenticeship. So we developed this custom performance banner graph here. The target is set as a personal goal. So that's out of the box functionality that you can use with Totara Learn. They're set as a personal goal, the amount of hours. We did some customization to bring in the hours and the goal type so that we could measure it. And then learners upload evidence and again, tag it as a certain evidence type. You can see here that they've logged 10 hours. So they can see that they're just over 1% through their requirement for the program. Coaches get some extra information on this that also gives them a status of whether or not they're on track or behind target, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So that's our off the job. This is linked to the standards, this area in the middle called My Development, which you might think looks incredibly like graphs you've seen for Totara Perform, and in a lovely serendipitous move, we developed these graphs and Totara Perform sort of came along as well, and it all molds quite nicely together. So we're just in the project at the moment to sort of move away from some of our custom development and use what's there in Totara Perform, because that's always nicer to use those coded features. But we wanted to show students where they were with their skills and behaviours. So you can see that on this one for leadership, they've got no prior attainment. Up here for communication, they're on status 2, which means they're building new skills. When you get to the yellow line, it means that they're performing at the required level. And also to meet the requirements of Ofsted, we also put in a level 5, which is continuing professional development, a bit of stretch and challenge. We wanted students to recognise that they could meet the required level, but they could also go further than that as well. And we've recently integrated the view more away from a custom report of ours and into the Totara Perform competency page that is just loading now. So again, you'll see that those graphs are very similar to what we see on our dashboard page there. And that's worked really nicely to be able to combine the two, and great for students to be able to see where they are in those standards, because essentially for an apprenticeship, it is the delivery of that apprenticeship standard that means that that's what they're tested on during EPA, and that's where they need to be successful. And then finally, in this performance banner, we just have a little bit about progress. And again, it's about recognising where students are, making sure that they know how they're doing, making sure they know where they are in the whole programme. So for an apprentice, it tells them how many courses they've completed versus how many have been added to their learning plan, and also how many exams they've passed versus how many have been added to their learning plan. And for exams, we've done that by using courses where they upload exam results to the course, and then we've given that course a custom type so that we can identify it in the system as exam passes. So that's very much the apprentice dashboard. Don't know if there's any questions, Matt or Dave, before I just move on to talk about some other users.
No, I think that one of the things that was interesting we talked about before is that for a new apprentice, do you think it can be quite overwhelming if you flood this page with too much information? What's your advice really on like making it simple for a new apprentice, and maybe even some of the emotion that they might experience when they start a new apprenticeship?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. There is so much information out there. And one of the things actually that we do that I sort of completed the profile on this learner, but if they were to log in before any data has been added to their account, they get a little holding graph icon here, and it says data to be added shortly. So that was quite important to us. We didn't want it to look like that, you know, like you say, overwhelm them with where they've got to go before they've even started. So that was quite important. And I think there is a temptation to keep giving them more and more and more information. So we have very much followed our sort of key of keep it simple. So we have a maximum amount of blocks that we'd put on this page. So we said no more than 3 either side of the custom block. And we've removed quite a lot of the options when it comes to the main menu and even within the profile, so that it's easy and intuitive for them to move around the site.
Great, thanks, Becky. Unless David has a question, it'd be great to see the coaches dashboard maybe, to see what they see, and just the fact that, yeah, those are split into audiences so that the different groups of people will see different things depending on their role and how they work in the system.
Yeah, no problem at all. So if I move to this one here, so I'm logged in as on this one, and the data on this graph for this sort of test user isn't there, but you get the flavor that for a coach in First Intuition is someone who looks after a cohort of apprentices. So they are responsible for making sure that an apprentice works their way through the program and completes successfully. So incredibly important role. And they too have this performance banner that they see, but this is based on their cohort. So again, we did a lot of customization here in making sure.
Sorry, Becky, are you showing the coaches one? Because I remember I can just see the guest one.
Is it stuck on? Let's have a go again. Apologies.
That's okay.
There you go. I think I was sharing a static page rather than just the.
There we go. That's great. Thank you.
Is that better? So yeah, this is the coach's dashboard, and this is what the coach sees. And again, we wanted to sort of push the information that was important. So when we were building this, we went out to speak to all of our coaches around the network and said, what are the things that are important to you on a daily basis? What would you like to know about your apprentices? And the information that came back is how many are behind target for the learning log. So how many of my learners have dropped behind and need a bit of a shimmy along to do their learning log? How many have progress reviews outstanding or not booked or overdue or incomplete? So progress reviews are another regulatory requirements for apprenticeship. And we do that using the appraisals system in Totara Learn at the moment, although we are in the middle of a project to move those to the new performance activity option in Totara Perform. So that knowing how many of those there are outstanding, knowing how they're progressing against the targets that have been set, and also knowing how many tasks your cohort has got that are outstanding. So they were the things that sort of came back from our coaches as being really important. And again, we wanted to push that into a dashboard performance banner. Coaches also have that same My Current Learning block where they can view tasks, and that is seeing all of their cohort. So a cohort, in terms of how we link them in the system, we use the manager role. So attaching the manager and a job assignment, and then they see all of their tasks relating to those learners. We split it into current and overdue courses again, and progress reviews there. We also did quite a lot of report customization when it comes to coaches. So when they click into My Cohort, they get to a customized version of the team view report, or the team members report as it is out of the box. And this was quite an important one for us. We wanted to try and eliminate the need for any manual tracking of apprentices. So this is another great bit of customization that we did, or Innovate did for us, which was again going out and saying what are all the important things we need to know to recognise whether or not our apprentices are on track. And I'll just limit this to just one of our apprentices. So this is a test one that we've got, and I'll just take you through some of the information we put on here. So some just normal information about who they are and what they're doing. You can see you've got a couple of metrics here for the learning hours. So this is how many hours they've logged versus how many we've set them as a personal goal, and then a system generated status there as well. So the system has a look at when the goal was set, what the start date was, what the end date on the learning plan is, and then it works out how many of those hours in the personal goal they should be logging on a daily basis, and then sets a target status to them. So either behind target, marginal, or on track. So that's some of the off the job. It pulls through some information about the learning plan. It pulls through some information about when they last did their timesheet. So again, that's off the job. So a coach can look at that, export this data and run some analytics on it to see whether or not they've got students who have fallen outside of the requirement. We've also got some information about when their last progress review and next progress review is, how many tasks they have outstanding. Another metric that we saw on the learner performance banner, which was count of exams passed, and then last submission. So all of this data feeds into our management information that then goes to help our senior coaches and our apprenticeship management staff understand how our coaches are performing and therefore how our apprentices are performing. And it also means that we can do early interventions on apprentices that are falling behind, which has been really, really critical in managing students not being successful in completing their apprenticeships, and also coaches finding it, that they're supporting learners that might have gone past their planned end date.
Great, thanks so much for showing us all of this in so much detail, Becky. It's really great to see. One question that's coming in is there a QA or quality sampling or moderation function required as part of delivery? And if so, how do you deliver that? And is there any anonymization of the results that you have?
So we don't do quality sampling. The quality sampling is done on an individual centre basis rather than overall. So every centre does operate that slightly differently. But yes, if we're pulling data out, we can anonymise that data. And we also have a staging site where we can anonymise data as well. So pulling data out into reports, and I believe that is an out of the box functionality actually, where you can choose to anonymize your users in your reports. I believe it's out of the box, unless it's something that we've done, but I'd hand over to Dave to confirm that one.
Yeah, I think that's out of the box, Becky.
Yeah, that is. Okay, thanks so much, Dave and Becky, for that. I suppose one question I would just ask is, if you were going to do this all again, and you were a new person trying to develop your own apprenticeship program, is there any advice you would give, David and Becky, is there any advice you would give to people if they were about to start their own project like this?
I think having a really clear vision is really important. We started out with, I suppose, with understanding what we wanted the end product to look like. And I think if we hadn't done that, it would have been really easy to lose our way as we went through. So we sort of mocked up what we wanted those dashboards and, sort of the layers behind those dashboards, what we wanted them to be able to achieve before we set about the project. And if we were doing it again, I think we could have spent even more time on that stage. So I think that's a massive area of it, is know what you want that end product to look like before you get started.
And I think from my point of view, it's helping Becky and FI on that journey. Now, Becky knows Totara inside out, so know what it can do and what it can't do, and then anything that they want the system to do, they'll utilize with core functionality. Anything after that comes down to us doing some R&D. Sometimes Becky will say to us, here's a plugin I've found, can you go and have a look at it and see, is it going to be okay and is it fit for purpose? And if it's not, then we can tweak it and do some customization of it. And it's just essentially helping Becky and the rest of the people at First Intuition just to achieve what they want to do in terms of functionality for the Totara system.
Great.
So goes back to the vision, but then it's about planning and doing some analysis from our point of view.
That's great. Thanks, David. Thanks, Becky. And if we could just have a quick look at some of your results, Becky, that you've had from the project. I think, David, you've got a slide there that you could share with some of Becky's main results.
If I stop
Yep.
sharing.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. You need a drum roll again.
Here we go. So the results are there. We just fire it up.
So yeah, Becky, really, I suppose, what have you found as a result of sort of working with Totara and working with Innovate Learn for the project, really?
So like I mentioned earlier, we had certainly a disconnect for our apprenticeship users where they were doing professional learning on one platform and then apprenticeship sort of activities on another. So there was a big disconnect for the users, but also for us in the background. So a major result for us is being able to review engagement. So see what students are doing on what platform at what time, and track progression across the entire program. And that's for coaches and apprentices. So no longer are we trying to piece together as a bit of a jigsaw information from different sources. We've got it all there as one picture, which has been absolutely fantastic. Reporting, so yeah, follows the same point really, that when we were using two different proprietary systems, we didn't have a unique data allocated to users in both the sites that we could then match them in outside of the system. So our reporting capabilities have just gone through the roof with the use of Totara, because not only can we utilize the out-of-the-box reporting functionality, which is fantastic, but we can also build our own. And like I showed you just there with the coach login and the team view report, as we call it, that has been a game changer for us because we've got all the information there at our fingertips. Definitely improving our learning experience. I think, you know, we didn't have to go far really to improve it, from saying to students log into one and another system. They used to get confused, they didn't know what they were doing where, the look and feel was really different, so there was a disconnect between them, and it wasn't intuitive what they needed to do. So we've definitely improved the learning experience for our apprentices and been able to bring them on that cohesive journey through the programme to know what they're doing and how everything fits together. And not just the apprentices, for our commercial learners as well. It's much more intuitive system to use, it's cleaner and it's easier, and we've been able to integrate things like our bespoke assessment methods as well. And then I've mentioned a few times the regulatory requirements, that we've had improved access to data. So when it came to being Ofsteded and getting an ESFA audit, we've been able to bring that data through easily to support those activities, and future developments as well. We can see what is working, what isn't. People are given the opportunity to feed into what they want to see on the site, and that's a major improvement for us. A major result for us is that we can be agile and we can move with the industry and with the times and with the apprenticeship reforms to say, yeah, we can absolutely build a site that is in line with all of those requirements and also what our users want. Which is that one. I was ahead of myself there. So yeah, we feel completely in control, you know, along with Innovate, who are fantastic for never telling me that can't be done. Actually, I don't think you've ever said that. So absolutely fantastic in being able to say, yes, we're in control of that roadmap. And it makes people in the business really excited as well, because they know that if they come and say, this isn't quite working, could we make it easier? Could we reduce the clicks? Could we make it, you know, more automated? Then generally the answer is yes. And we schedule that time in and we start looking at the feasibility of it.
Great. Thanks so much, Becky. It's great to see the key results you have in there. And thanks, David, for presenting today as well. If anyone has any final questions, feel free to ask them here. Otherwise, this recording will be in the Totara community, and you can come and ask questions there as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Becky, for taking us behind the scenes there. It's great to see a sneak peek of exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it, so others can look to replicate some of the success you're having as well. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
And thanks, David, as well, for coming and showcasing exactly how you can partner with Innovate Learn. If
You're
anyone
welcome.
hasn't,
Thank you.
if no one has any questions today, then thanks so much, and we'll probably finish there for the day. But thanks again, and see you all soon. Thanks, Becky. Thanks, David, and thanks, Jules, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.